Welcome to Chisholm Trail 61. Today we're going to be doing one of my favorite biscuits. I've done it several times, a bunch of times. It's great by one of my all-time favorite country music singers. I can remember going to bed at night and listening to Loretta Lynn's albums play on the stereo. My mama would turn the stereo on, put a Loretta Lynn album on, listening to like You Ain't Woman Enough, Honky Tonk Girl, Your Squaws on the Warpath 9. I could go on and on. But anyway, that's what we're going to do. I'm going to show you how to make Loretta Lynn's buttermilk biscuits. And I'm going to show you how I do that coming up right now. Okay, first thing we're going to need for Loretta Lynn buttermilk biscuits is in the bowl here. I got 2 cups of self-rising flour that I sifted. To that, we're going to add 6 tablespoons of cold grease. Now, I'm using Crisco. You can use whatever shortening grease you want to. And I got 4 tablespoons of butter that's also cold. And seeing how these Loretta Lynn's biscuits, we're going to do it the way Loretta Lynn said do it. We're going to take a fork and we're just going to chop this into it, to our flour, just with a fork. Now, most of you know Loretta Lynn was probably one of the most popular and best country music female artists there ever was. And she was born in Butcher Holler, Kentucky, the second of 8 kids. And she was named after an actress, Loretta Young, who became popular in the 40s in a couple of movies. Her 2 biggest was The Farmer's Daughter and Come to the Stable. And her mama, Loretta Lynn's mama I'm talking about, really liked Loretta Young, and so she named Loretta Lynn after Loretta Young. That's where the Loretta came in at. So now, most of you know that she married Oliver Doolittle Lynn whenever she was about 15 years old. He was 21. And she only knew him for a month before they got married. They met, and a month later, they got married. She got her first guitar when she was 18 years old. Doolittle Lynn bought her a Gibson from Sears and Roebuck and give to her. He gave $17 for the guitar that he gave her. And she wrote her first song whenever she was on a fishing trip when Lynn, as she called him, and her lived in Washington State. Now you see we got that crumbled up there pretty good, mixed in, beat in, crumbled up pretty good there. So now what we got here, we got 3/4 of a cup of buttermilk. And we're going to pour probably about half of it in there at first. And I'm going to get my fork out of this. And I'm going to get me a tablespoon. And I'm going to start mixing this up. Now this is not going to be a really wet batter. This is sort of a drier batter. And you'll see what I'm talking about. I'm going to go ahead and pour the rest of it in now that I got that mixed up pretty good. And we just want to get it mixed up good, get it all good and wet where it'll start sticking together. Loretta Lynn A lot of people don't know it. She became a grandmother at the age of 34. Yeah, it was 34. And her two youngest daughters, her twins, they was only 2 years old at the time, but her oldest daughter married and had her first baby at 18. And of course, Loretta Lynn was 34 at that time. And we got that mixed up pretty good. You see what I'm talking about? That's not a real wet batter. It's sort of a dry batter there. So we're going to scrape that off of there. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to set this over to the side and I'm going to move this out of my way here. And I'm going to get me a skillet, just a cast iron skillet. This is my favorite cast iron skillet. This is a 3-notch Lodge skillet. It's one I use to make bread in. That's all I use this skillet for, the bread. It's a number 8. And it probably is, I would say, between 60 and 80 years old. And the reason I say that, because it doesn't have the country stamped on the back of it. I believe it was in the 60s, 50s or 60s that the government passed a law saying that all the companies had to stamp their cast iron with the country of origin, you know, the country they was made in. We just got some Crisco grease here, and we're just going to spread it a little around in her skillet here. And everybody knows Loretta Lynn liked her Crisco grease. She believed in Crisco grease for everything. And so we're just going to sort of set that over here to the side. And I'm going to get me a piece of parchment paper here. Now I'm just going to sort of spread this out, just something so I can dump my batter out on and roll out there. Keep trying to make a big mess. I don't want to make a big mess if I can keep from it. I'm just going to put me a little bit of flour down on it. We're just going to sort of spread it around a little bit there. And then we're just going to take and roll our batter out on this here. We can set that over out of the way now. Get my rolling pin and put me a little bit of flour on it. And get some on my hand. I'm just going to pat that down just a little bit there on top, just so it doesn't stick real bad. And I'm just going to roll this out here. And we want to roll this down to about between 1/4 and 1/2 inch thick, depending on, you know, how much you want, how big you want your biscuits, how thick you want them to rise up. Now, I made this recipe several times, and believe me, they are some good biscuits. Whenever you get done, they are some really good tasting biscuits. A lot of people didn't know Loretta Lynn had a big influence on Reba McEntire. I'm going to grab my biscuit cutter here. But Loretta Lynn influenced Reba McEntire a lot. Reba McEntire said that before she goes on stage, she would warm up by singing her favorite Loretta Lynn song. Name of that song was "If You're Not Gone Too Long." We're just going to take our biscuit cutter and we're going to cut our biscuits out here. Yep, I didn't want that to go in there though. I'm just dipping my cutter over in some flour here, try to keep it sticking real bad to my dough. And we want to just cut our biscuits out. And we got our oven preheated over there to 425 degrees. And you can see I'm just cutting. Now, if you don't have a biscuit cutter, no worries. You can use a glass or a cup, or you can even just take and roll them out by hand. But I just like to cut these out because this is what Loretta Lynn said you're supposed to do. And since this is her recipe, then that's what I want to do. And when you put your biscuits in the pan, and I'll show you here in just a minute, you always want to make sure that your biscuits are touching each other. You don't want your biscuits spread out where they're not up against each other. Because if you do that, then your biscuits, when they go to cooking, they're just going to flatten out. They're not going to rise up any. And we want our biscuits to rise up some. So I'm going to show you these. That's what they look like when they're in the pan. Now, I'm going to re-roll the rest of this dough, and I'm going to put them in another pan and cook them too, but I'm not going to make you sit here and watch me do that. We got our oven at 425. We're going to put them in for about, I'm a little choked up this morning. I apologize to y'all. We're going to put them in for about 25 to 28 minutes. And whenever we get them out, we'll bring you back at that time. While we're waiting on our biscuits to come out of the oven there, I just wanted to give y'all a few more little known facts about Loretta Lynn. When she was growing up, her family was poor. They couldn't afford the wallpaper for the house. So in the wintertime, her mama would take old newspapers and old pages out of the Sears and Roebuck catalogs and glue up on the walls to help keep the cold out. And Loretta Lynn, when she wrote a song, she always wrote it backwards, they said, because she would sit down and write the second chorus. Her songs, if you listen to them, most always had two choruses. She would write the second chorus first, then go back and write the first chorus, then go back and start with the verses that led into the chorus. So people said she wrote her songs backwards there, and that's pretty neat. And probably her, her home there in Hurricane Mills, her ranch that her and Doolittle Lynn bought in Hurricane Mills, Tennessee. People don't know, a lot of people don't, but it has its own zip code and post office there, at her ranch does. It's got a post office on its own post office, has its own zip code. Now, her daddy, probably one of her greatest, worst things about her career was, she probably was a daddy's girl like most girls are. And her daddy never got to see her success in country music. Her first single, Honky Tonk Girl, was released a year after her daddy had passed away. Now, her probably greatest achievement that she felt and cherished till the day she died, I'm gonna give that to you whenever we come back. We take our biscuits out, and I'll tell you what probably one of her greatest achievements was. So we'll see you in just a few minutes there. Okay, we got our biscuits out of the oven there. We let them go about 28 minutes. And you can see what they look like there. And they're a flaky biscuit almost. I'm going to break one open here. I got me a sauce. Let me move this back where I can get up here where y'all can sort of see what this looks like. It's still hot, so I'm going to take this fork and stick in there because I don't want to stick my fingers in there. Like I said, we just took them out and got them out of the skillet. Yeah, you can see that steam come up. See how flaky that is, soft? Man, those are good. Well, I promised y'all I would tell you one of Loretta Lynn, what I'm sure she treasured as one of her greatest achievements in life, probably till the day she died. In 2013, then President Barack Obama awarded Loretta Lynn the Presidential Medal of Freedom because she broke the barriers. She was stable in breaking the barriers in an industry that was mostly up to that point dominated by males. I mean, you had, Patsy Cline, but Patsy Cline had died at such a young age, and killed in the car crash stuff, who was a good friend of Loretta Lynn's and really got Loretta Lynn going in country music. But President Obama awarded her the Presidential Medal of Freedom for breaking the barrier and getting women really into country music and into the music industry. And you got people now like Reba McEntire, you know, others that, you know, have followed in her footsteps. But anyway, if you would, give the old video a thumbs up there, like, share, comment, subscribe to our channel. We appreciate all of you do. We appreciate all of you take time out of your day to watch our videos. Miss Loretta Lynn's Buttermilk Biscuits. We'll see you on the next one.